we now firmly believe that electronics can not only be made in India, not only be assembled in India, but also designed in India.
Yes. How is Deki really looking forward to these changes? What are you planning for the future?
We are now seeing good days ahead. Deki itself has committed to an investment of almost 5 times the investment that we made. I think we owe it to our employees that we create an industrial enterprise today in India, where we are not only the owners and the managers prosper, but the workers and their families also can genuinely have a better quality of life.
Make in India is the slogan of the country, and we are all working towards that. But is it just the makers who have that responsibility? Is it not the users also?
I think if the Indian companies or companies in India don't support Indian electronic components,
Right.
who else will?
Hi, I'm happy to welcome Mr. Vinod Sharma, MD of Deki, to the Electronica exhibition. We are at the Ramakrishna booth now. Welcome, Vinodji.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me here.
How do you think environment has changed over the past few years?
Oh, that's an excellent start to our discussion. That 30 years ago, when we spoke to the government and asked help for electronic hardware, we were curtly told by the highest office that we are good at software, let's focus on software, and hardware we can afford to import. We reminded them that that was not going to be, because the whole volume of electronics, and not just the numbers or the dollars, but the impact that electronics has and all the other sectors as a meta resource,
True.
that they were making a mistake, but they wouldn't listen to us then. I'm very glad that the current government, at the political level, at the bureaucracy, our own ministry at 𝐒𝐞𝐚𝐬𝐨𝐧 and the industry, all the stars have kind of lined up now. And the first achievement I would say we've had is that we now firmly believe that electronics can not only be made in India, not only be assembled in India, but also designed in India.
Yes, very true, very true. And how is Deki really looking forward to these changes? What are you planning for the future?
So, Deki, I would say we are now going through what I call Deki 3.0. So Deki 1.0 was in the license Raj, where my father-in-law and mother-in-law started this company, took a license from the government, and they got a license to make 10 million pieces per year.
Okay.
And then they went on an electronic typewriter looking for technical collaborators, and we found this Japanese company 𝐂𝐤𝐢 that helped us with the technology at that stage. So hats off to their entrepreneurial spirit that we are here today. But that was phase 1.0. I entered at phase 2.0, where the duties had actually come down from 40-50% to zero.
Right.
In 2005, they were down to zero. So we had to not only benchmark with, let's say, Japan on quality or Germany on reliability, because the global standards, as you know, are the same for all of us.
True.
But we also had to benchmark with China on prices.
Yes.
And that meant that we had to scale up. We had to really grow, which we did. So today, those 10 million pieces that we were making in the whole year, we now make it in 2.5 days. So that's the level of scaling up that we had to do. I was happy that the shareholders decided not to take money out of the company, but keep putting it back there.
Right.
So brick by brick, we got here. Now, Deki 3.0 is actually in a more exciting phase, I would say, because that time of conservative scaling up is also over. Today, we live in a globalized world. Whether we like it or not, anybody can supply to us and we can supply to anybody else.
Yeah.
So rather than look at it as a challenge, we are looking at it as an opportunity. Also, electronics itself has gone. So, if you look at new energy, 50% of the energy that India needs, and we will need a lot of energy as our population, our per GDP capita, per capita increases.
Yeah.
We are only scratching the surface. So where will this additional energy come from? It cannot come from fossil fuels. So if it is going to come from solar or wind or nuclear or hydrogen, our electronics that you make and I make plays a very important role there. So the first time I see a role for us in the generation of electricity, and then in its transmission, then in its storage. BESS is a good example. And finally in its utility, for example, the whole e-mobility sector. Again, in electric vehicles, there's a lot of electronics. All this means that all of us in capacitors now have a very big responsibility to play our role and make capacitors that are required in this for new energy. And so that's what we are gearing up for. Again, we don't have the luxury of doing it piecemeal, because now it's available at zero duty.
Yeah.
So technically and commercially, you got to be amongst the best, otherwise there's no place for you. And so that is why, thanks to the recent policy by the government, the Electronic Component Manufacturing Scheme, that all of us in 𝐿𝐶𝐼, CII contributed a lot to, we are now seeing good days ahead. Deki itself has committed to an investment of almost 5 times the investment that we made since our genesis.
Wow.
So that's what we want to do. What we did in 40 years, 5 times that we want to do in 4 years.
Yes. I must congratulate you, Vinod, for being one of the leaders, one of the only successful component manufacturers in India. All these years we have, and you must have faced a lot of challenges in the past several years. Any special story you would like to share with the audience?
Yeah, sure. I have lots, but I think India is a blessed country. And I realized very early as a manager, as a leader, that you will always find somebody in this country who can do the task that I do on a daily basis more efficiently than I do, more economically maybe, and with more focus.
Right.
So I always kept kicking myself upstairs as a CEO and kept giving a lot of the very important tasks, designing a capacitor, making good capacitors, increasing productivity, engaging with HR, creating a culture of innovation
Yes.
and ownership in the company. Fortunately, we found the right people, and I'm really proud of our team. So from 40 people today, we have up to 640 people in capacitors. The level of ownership is that often when I speak to them, which is quite often because we have a public address system in the whole factory, every morning we start our day at 9 o'clock with a prayer. We sing the national anthem. There's a thought for the day which is done by one employee by turn, and everybody is welcome. So some of the best speeches that I've heard have come from our housekeeping associates, for example, because when you give them the floor and give them the liberty to speak as an owner, they bring a lot to the table.
Right.
And in one of these speeches, I told them that this Ganesh Lakshmi Murti that comes from China, we all feel ashamed that even our gods are now being made there. But the real shame is that capacitors are being made there. And what can we do about it? So I made it a singular purpose of our lives, literally, that we must try our best. Not that we don't like the Chinese or nothing of the sort, but why are we not able to make capacitors and sell within our country? And when we do that right, the 40 people today have given birth. They are actually employers of 640 people today. Each person has created 16 jobs, 16 families directly, and then many indirectly are bearing the fruits of what they were able to do. And one of the schemes that I really liked, which we floated, was a simple suggestion scheme in Deki. Monday to Friday, workers are invited to give suggestions. It is not their KRA to give it, but the supervisor has a role to get more. He has a target to get suggestions from his employees. On Saturday morning, all the approved suggestions are announced, and a 50 rupee cash prize is given per suggestion. And then there is a whole team that goes into implementing them. So far we have implemented more than 74,000 suggestions.
Okay.
Rightly, you mentioned challenges. All our costs are more than the costs of many other countries, whether it's electricity, logistics, finance, which we need a lot of, but also employees. While our salaries are lower, our productivity levels are what they are. Because in China, for example, that they all stay in a dormitory. They walk to work.
Yes.
They are much healthier. They get better food. And I think we owe it to our employees that we create an industrial enterprise today in India, where we are not only the owners and the managers prosper, but the workers and their families also can genuinely have a better quality of life. So it's with this mission that we've come so far. Inshallah, we'll go much further.
One more question. In my opinion, Make in India is the slogan of the country, and we are all working towards that. But is it just the makers who have that responsibility? Is it not the users also? The entire ESDM industry must support the local manufacturers in spite of the disabilities.
You've hit a very raw nerve with me because I have been very vocal about this. Japan was not built by America or Europe.
Right.
Korea was built by them. So while Samsung is a very large umbrella brand, they have ultra large influence on the GDP of the whole country.
Right.
But Samsung is also the reason that many of the technologies that came out of Korea came out thanks to the patronage of a company like Samsung.
Yes.
Even today, I can say this openly, Samsung has been in India. I think India is one of their largest markets. Almost no Indian electronic component company is in their supply chain even today.
Yes.
They still will buy Korean. So I'm not saying that's good or bad. Let's not get into the politics of it. But I think if the Indian companies or companies in India don't support Indian electronic components,
Right.
who else will? So it is our ecosystem and it is up to us to build it. Sometimes people say, hey, but it's zero duty. If I can get this cheaper from somewhere else, maybe China, why should I? How can I help you? Right? And my answer to that is, look, let's go back to the example of automotive and Maruti. If Maruti had thought the same way, today we would be largely an importer of cars.
Yes.
We wouldn't be the manufacturers and exporters, not only of cars, but today of electronic components.
Yes.
At least 10 of our large auto component companies today, tier ones, are actually global names. They are all over the world. They are buying out companies there. How did this transition happen in 30 years? Simple thing. Maruti employed some of their best brains in vendor development. From scratch, they taught them, they gave them the technology. They maybe even took a share in that company. In some cases, they even sat on their board. But they guided them to get here. So on day one, it will be very unfair for somebody to say, hey, I get this capacitor for 1 rupee from China, Vinod. And unfortunately, they also lie to you.
Yes.
Because, and that's a problem we have with India. We are sometimes very myopic. So as a CEO, I always will push my purchase people to every quarter on quarter give me a price reduction.
Yes.
So what does he do? He keeps going to the cheapest part of the supply chain wherever it's in the world. That's not a way to develop an industry. So today we have seen a lot of growth in the EMS industry. Post PLI, if you want to survive, I always tell them they have to build the roots. And the roots are people like us making components.
Making the system.
Give us a higher price. Give us a roadmap.
Yes.
Tell me today that I am 5% more expensive.
Yes.
Give me quarter on quarter a target to reduce by 1%. So that in 5 quarters I'll be there. What I need in return is a purchase order for maybe for 5 quarters. An assurance that you will buy from me so that I can scale up, so that I can build the equipment that I need. And together we will be successful.
Sure.
But I'm happy to see that this tide is also turning now.
Yes.
One element that we need to do that also is design. Because EMS companies that don't do their own designs and have no say in the IP also are then governed by the brand owner. And he may not know my company, so he's not able to. There I would say, I must thank people like Ramakrishna. You have set up your own design labs now.
Yes.
You are investing heavily in designs. And that means that you are carrying some of our components as a part of the kit.
Yes.
This is exactly what the Chinese are doing or the Koreans will do. They'll bring in a whole kit.
Yes.
So I think this is a great service that distributing companies like Ramakrishna are doing for components like us, but not only for us, but for the whole industry.
Yes.
When we come off the PLI, when the sunset clauses come, it will be basically the EMI companies and the component companies, hopefully some material companies, that will keep the flag flying high.
Yeah. I will add to that the local distribution partners, who we are trying to sell in Indian rupees, give milk runs to customers, weekly
right.
supplies of parts.
Right, the inventory turns that this customer can have because of you so there's a lot of value that gets added there. And I'm glad that it's not only warehousing and of course rupee billing, but it's also now this design that you're able to carry to them,
Yes.
Because many small product companies don't have the design in-house. And they would be very, very happy to work with people like you.
As a last question, anything interesting which people don't know about Deki which you would like to share?
Lots. Actually, I think one that comes to mind is that I always tell people who are joining Deki, we in fact have a very strong alumni association.
Okay.
So once a year I have lunch with people who have left Deki.
Okay.
And many of them are sometimes in my competition now. They are suppliers, they are also customers. But most of all, I find that it is the little contribution I find as a small company that we can make to the society. Deki is where it is today because I also got talent from many other companies, So I think it's also, in a way, I always feel that we stand for giving back in whatever small way. We are not large enough to do that. But I hope that we have built a culture which none of my suppliers ever in 40 years their payments have been delayed even by 1 day. So I think we stand for being a very responsible company. We already done our scope 1 and 2 assessments as far as environmental protection is concerned. We recently got our ISO 50000, which is for energy management.
Right.
So if there is a word that I want to use for Deki, we are a very responsible, we want to be a very responsible, that sort of, we may not make as much money as a lot of my other colleagues make in the industry.
But I'm sure your contribution is more than others.
I mean, I see that as a positive impact. We learn from them and we contribute back to them.
Congratulations on a great work, Vinod. And thank you for your time today.
Thank you so much, Sunny, for having me.
Thank you, Vinod. Thank you. Bye.